Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. I'm your host, the Dividend Aristocrat, and today we're going to be taking a look and talking about my dividend income for the month of November. Now, this is a series that I update monthly on the channel, so if you're into that kind of content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm on my way to 2K and I would really appreciate it. As a reminder, this is not financial advice and I'm just merely sharing my opinions on this channel. Now, we do have a decent amount of dividends to get through today, so let's start by taking a look at my portfolio dashboard that you can see right here. In total, I have invested $33,444 so far, and a lot of that has come pretty recently, with my 2024 amount invested climbing up past $7,000 this year. My current portfolio value sits right under 50K at $48,663, and I can't wait till I break that 50K mark with this portfolio. Now, in terms of total return, my percent gain is actually at 45.5%, which is really strong, and my unrealized gains in terms of cash is at $15,218. Now, of course, my portfolio does pay some dividends, so my total dividend earned so far has been $1,312, and every single one of those dollars has gone back and been reinvested into the companies that paid out those dividends. Now, going forward, I am projected to be getting paid out $777 per year in the portfolio, and we're quickly approaching that $1,000 goal, with my portfolio yield currently sitting at 1.6% and my yield on cost sitting at 2.32%. Now, I am recording this while the market is open, so if you guys see the days change or any of my total return changing and fluctuating throughout the day, that's because of that. Now, if you guys haven't yet watched last week's video where I talk about buying more Google shares and why I'm doing so, I'll pin up the video right here, but I have updated my cash position since then in order to reflect that, so it's currently sitting at $7,581. Now, my total holdings are at 23 because I recently bought a new company, Booz Allen Hamilton. I can also pin that video up here if you guys want to check it out. Now, taking a look down here, we can see how much I've invested and how much dividend income I have received each year since I first started investing in the portfolio. Now, since 2024 is quickly coming to an end, I'll soon have to add another row into this table right here, so we'll see how I'll be able to fit that in. Now, the most interesting thing to take a look at here is that so far my highest amount invested was actually in 2022, and that's because there were a lot of buying opportunities that year, but following that we have 2023 at $9,759. Now, for 2024, we are close to the end of the year, but I'm still sitting well below that $12,000 mark, and even I'm still sitting below 2023's amount invested at $7,737. Now, recently I have invested about $3,000 into the portfolio, so I've been doing a lot of catch up, but there's still not those good opportunities that I'm looking for just yet. In terms of dividend income, we had no problem surpassing last year's dividend income this year at $588 earned so far, and December is expected to be a very big month for me, with both SCHD and VOO paying that month. Now, this graph down here just shows my dividend received per year, and we can see how quickly it's been climbing up. I hope this continues in the future. Now, in terms of my portfolio allocation, we can see the same information reflected here. I have a $48,000 portfolio plus a cash position sitting in a money market fund at about $7,581. Now, I have divided my portfolio into 3 different sections in order to help me organize. So I have my key to success, which is my ETFs. I have my divine dividends, which are my dividend paying stocks. And I have my speculative positions, which is basically just a kitchen sink, which captures anything that's not captured in any of the other 2 sections. In terms of target versus actual allocations, I am pretty close, but I really do need to be adding more into my ETF section. I want it to be about 50% of my portfolio. And my dividend section has clearly surpassed the amount that it needs to be at by just a decent amount. Now, I'm not too worried about this. I will be rebalancing this over time by just adding more into my ETFs, but for now, I'm going to hold it off as is. Now, the big thing I want to point out here is that my cash position is about 13.5% of my total portfolio value, so the portfolio plus the cash. And I'm okay with that, but I definitely want to deploy this cash. I want to have about 5% cash on the side at all times. So without further delay, let's take a look at all my dividend income for the month of November. And you guys might be asking yourselves, well, November isn't quite over yet. What if I'm missing any sort of dividends that have been paid out at the end of the month? That is true. That could very well be the case. But from what I checked, this should be all the dividends I received in November. So since there aren't too many dividends this month, I will keep this brief. So starting at the top, we can see Lowe's paid me on the 6th of November at $2.36. I have a 2-share position and that was reinvested to get back 0.009 shares of Lowe's. 2 days later, I got a 67-cent dividend from MasterCard, which is one of my smallest dividends in the portfolio. But after that, we got a much more substantial one from Texas Instruments on the 12th of November at $19.62. Now, the Texas Instrument dividend is one of my largest dividends in the portfolio, and it has been adding up quickly over time, reinvested back into 0.091 shares, and I'm very happy about that. Now, unfortunately, both my last 2 dividends are pretty small, $2.27 from Apple, which was reinvested to get back 0.001 shares, and the same amount of shares were reinvested back for General Dynamics, but in the form of $2.92 dividend. Now that is all my dividend income for the month of November, but as we'll take a look at in a little bit in the monthly breakdown section, December tends to be a much larger month for me because both SCHD and VOO tend to pay on December. So aside from the dividend income that I receive from stocks, I also have a decent amount of money sitting in money market funds. That's the $7,500 I was referencing, and that also pays me a dividend each and every month. I still haven't gotten a dividend for November. It comes at the end of the month, but we can see the one for October right here at $37.30. Now in total, I have made $593 from the money market fund dividends, but I do not count that in my calculations that you guys see on the portfolio dashboard. All the information that you guys do see on my portfolio dashboard is strictly related to my stock positions and not my money market position. So before we get into the dividend calendar, my portfolio holdings, we'll take a look at my monthly breakdown. This is one of the older sheets that I built on this portfolio, and I originally made it for the channel. So what this does is it breaks down how much I invested and how much I have received in dividend income each month since I first started investing into the portfolio. So we can see that my first investment was actually a lump sum of $2,800, and that all went into VOO. Then my first dividend, of course, came from VOO, and it was at $12.45. Since then, the amount that I've invested and the amount of dividends I've received have grown pretty quickly over time, and we can see right here that my biggest month was actually in July of 2024 at $124.11. Now historically, December has been my largest month because of both VOO and SCHD paying at the same time, so we'll see if in this December we'll be able to surpass the record set in July. Now in November, I earned $27.84 in total dividend income, and we can see right here where that places us, and if we go back to last year's November, we are sitting just a little bit higher than that. Now these numbers do fluctuate from time to time because some companies will decide to pay either a month earlier or a month later, so it just depends how it ends up being paid out that year. Also, I have sold some positions in the portfolio, which of course is going to change my monthly dividend income, so if you guys want to check those videos out, I'll leave them down in the description below. Alright, so that brings us to my dividend calendar, and this is my newest spreadsheet within the portfolio, and I'm a really big fan of it so far. I've been enjoying incorporating it into the videos. If you guys have made it this far into the video and are enjoying it so far, leave a like on the video. I promise you won't regret it. Taking a look at November, we can see all the dividends we talked about earlier. We have the aapl dividend at $2.27, GD at $2.92, we have Lowe's at $2.36, MasterCard at $67, and Texas Instruments at $19.62. Now my favorite thing about this dividend calendar is that it creates an easy way to visualize how the dividend income has grown over time. For this example, let's take a look at Texas Instruments. In February, we can see that they paid out $18.36. Following that in May, they paid out $18.51. In August, they paid out $18.63, and there's no dividend increases during that time. The reason that the dividend did grow over those quarters is because the money was being reinvested back into Texas Instruments and therefore increasing my dividend income going forward. Now we can see that from last quarter to this quarter, the amount of dividend income actually jumped a pretty significant amount, and that's because Texas Instruments announced a dividend increase of over 4%. Now as I continue to reinvest these dividends and the companies continue to increase their dividends, this is going to snowball very quickly into some massive dividend income in the long run. Now, one other thing I want to point out about this dividend calendar is that it does a great job showing dividend cuts, unfortunately. So we can see here that in March, 3M paid me $1.62 worth of dividend income. Now from this dividend to the next, they cut their dividend by a significant amount, and so in June I only got paid out 76 cents worth of dividend income. Now because I reinvested this dividend, in September it still paid out more at 77 cents, but unfortunately this is still a much lower dividend yield than when I first invested in the company. Now one thing that I think is really fun to take a look at when I make these videos is my portfolio holdings section, and specifically I like to only put the holdings that paid me a dividend this month, and I like to rank them from the largest percent change to the lowest percent change. So by doing this, we can see that my best performer so far is actually Apple. I believe I purchased this in 2022 when the stock price dipped very significantly, and I bought 9 shares, which at the time was my largest single position in my portfolio, aside from the ETFs of course. Because of that, I have seen a very large amount of price appreciation. My total return currently sits at 75%. Now I do consider Apple a little bit overvalued at this time, but I still think they're a very high quality company, so I'll continue holding on to my position, but I will not be adding more into Apple at this time. Now following that, we have MasterCard, which has been performing very well since I purchased it. I only purchased 1 share and I've seen 70% price appreciation, which is great. After that, we have Lowe's at 45%, and then we have General Dynamics at 40%, followed by Texas Instruments at 36%. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is that compared to the rest of these holdings, I purchased Texas Instruments much more recently, and so that's why it's had less price appreciation because it had less time to increase in price. Now, Texas Instruments is also a very large position of mine. I was waiting a very long time to start a position in the company, but when it started dipping down towards $140 a share, I could not resist. In terms of dividend income, we can see that Texas Instruments is one of my most significant dividend payers at $93.27 earned so far, and going forward I am expected to be getting paid out $79 per year. Now, of course, it is one of my larger dividend payers in the portfolio at 2.69%, and my yield on cost is at 3.53%, both because of dividend increases, dividend reinvestments, and of course, my purchase price was much lower than the price it's sitting at currently. Now, before I do go ahead and end this video, I do like to take a look at my future value calculator, which I am giving away for free on my Patreon until the end of this year. We can see right here that my starting principal is my current portfolio value, and my annual contribution is at $12,000, which is how much I'm expecting to be adding into the portfolio each year going forward. My annual dividend yield is at 1.6%, which is my current portfolio yield, and my expected dividend increase and price appreciation can be changed to whatever I think makes the most amount of sense. For today's example, let's change dividend increase to about 6%, and let's change the expected price appreciation to about 8%. So we can see that in about 10 years, my portfolio value is expected to be worth about $268,000. Now, if we change this time frame, we can just click this arrow right here and change it to 40 years. We can see how quickly it increases. At year 40, it should be worth about $5 million with a total dividend income per year of $30,000, or a total dividend earned by that point of $432,000. Now, of course, this future value calculator does take a decent amount of assumptions into play, but it is a great way to keep yourself on track and focused on your goals. As always, that does bring us to the end of today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at my portfolio in depth and looking at my dividend income for the month of November. If you guys made it to the end of the video, let me know down below how much dividend income you received this month and from which companies you received that dividend income. Also, if you've made any big investments recently, let me know down below as well. If you guys haven't yet checked out last week's video where I talk about my most recent investment into Google, check out this video right here. And if you guys haven't yet seen my deep dive into why I'm purchasing Booz Allen Hamilton stock, check out this video right here. Remember, the best time to invest was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. I want to thank every single one of you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.